Hey guys, this is going to be a demo of the RedBear lead tube amplifier Mark 120. I just like calling it the Mark 120 because lead tube amplifier gets kind of, you know, kind of boring having to say it all that time. But what I should actually be calling this is the Red Menace for two reasons. First being it's from Russia and is, in my opinion, better than the JCM800, which means it's a menace by itself. And secondly, because it blew 4 power tubes 20 minutes ago. So, the ones in there don't look like they're red plating now, but those ones were. But basically what this is a Marshall JCM800 with with about the same amount of gain, but with one of the heaviest bass presences of any amp I've ever played, especially guitar amp. Like, this thing can beat some bass amps, like, no problem, I have a feeling. Let me see. It better not have blown something again. There we go, just had to heat up for a second. I don't know if you can hear that, but that's shaking stuff on my walls. This does have a little bit of clean volume. Of course, it's a JCM800. It's a breakup amp, but it's got that clean volume in there too. And so on and so forth. Of course, it has that clean volume up until about 6 on the preamp, then we start getting distortion. But, you know, that's like light edge of overdrive right there. As we keep cranking it, we'll get up to about 8, and we're approaching, you know, a good classic rock lead tone. It's getting that like singing, sustain, and distortion right there. And that we're getting that punch too in there. I'm leaving all these dials at noon for right now, but we're gonna turn this all the way up. And there's a lot that happens in this last range of the dial. It's pretty drastic. And we start getting that kind of Jimi Hendrix fuzz when this is maxed out on this thing right here. You know, stuff like that, and then and so on and so forth. But the real magic happens when we hit the sensitivity switch. Maybe you can hear it got a little bit louder right there. It's a little bit more brittle. So what the sensitivity switch does is when it's pushed out, it's like a normal JCM800. It sounds fantastic. It's got that breakup. And I should also add, this amp is not like other amps in that this has a 12AT7 and a 12AU7 in there, because those were the tubes that came in my Ampeg SVT, and I was just rolling preamp tubes for like a couple days, and those ones gave this thing so much bass. Like, I was planning on using this as a bass amp, and unfortunately it sold like an hour after I listed it for a price which I thought no one was going to pay. But I was going to use it as a bass amp, so it's got a little bit less gain than some of these would have. But with the 12AT7 and 12AU7, those are in V2 and V3. So it's still got that big gain stage up front. And the big gain stage is what this is slamming into. So we put this out. It's a normal JCM800. We push this in. And what it does is this removes a couple resistors that would normally impede the signal that's going through. So what this does is this just makes your signal so much bigger. And now what we're going to do is we're just going to turn this up to about 8 right here. And this is starting to fill the room. That is like, you know, hard rock, stoner metal kind of sound. And when we push this all the way up, it is impressive. Like, genuinely. Huge sound. This is without a boost pedal, and this is with a neck humbucker too. So this is neck humbucker, and this is a PAF. So it's like 8K hitting this thing. It is so distortion heavy and such a heavy bass sound. So heavy. It's amazing. Oh my gosh, it's amazing. And being in the room with it is even better because it will shake things. It is incredible. The bass on this thing it's unlike any other guitar amp I've ever played. And under this amp, I have a Sun. So I know about bass frequencies. This is the loudest, boomiest, most just huge sound out of just about any amp I've ever played. This is like my ideal stoner metal amp. Like maybe an Orange Thunderverb has this kind of stuff, but this is, oh my goodness. Let's turn the presence down really quick. Now, I'm going to turn it to, oh my gosh. It is so big. The mutes are, oh shoot, this is impressive. it makes anything you do sound stoner metal when you crank that preamp gain, push in the sensitivity switch, and start bringing up the bass. And mids and treble are great too. Thing I don't like about the treble very much is that it just it's just a little too bright for me. Like the frequency it seems to adjust feels like it's hovering around that 8K range where I'm just not a fan of it. And the amp kind of sounds noisy. That's just because I have my guitar so close up to it. But oh my gosh, this is such a good amp. It's just amazing for stoner metal, for rock. I mean, for rock, you take out the switch and crank the preamp, keep it out. It's great for classic rock and proto metal. Push it in, and it's oh my gosh, it's amazing. I freaking love this amp. But low input is just lower volume. I'm not going to demo that because none of y'all will actually use that. This is not the MKE version. The MKE had an effects loop in it, and they kind of left a space between the MK and 120 so that they could have the optional E in there. The foot switch on the back, what I've heard about that is that it activates a couple extra modes, which you can't do with just the sensitivity switch. It does something with like your bass and mid frequency is what I've heard. So you have the sensitivity switch button. What I've heard is if on a 2-button foot switch you press both the buttons at the same time, it does something weird to your frequencies. I don't have any foot switches, so I cannot verify this, but having secret modes on like an amp from the 90s is really cool in my opinion, even if it was a factory error. But buy one of these. They are incredible amps. I ended up selling this one for $800, and that guy got a heck of a deal. There's another one on the market right now for $1,200. Don't pay that. It's not worth as much as a JCM 800 because nothing is worth as much as a JCM 800 because they're overpriced. But this is worth as much as anything close to JCM 800 should be, about $800. And it is worth every penny of that. It's worth every penny of it, up to about $1,000 in my opinion. I'd rather have this than a new Gibson. It's so good. I'm so sad that I had to sell this, but oh well. I'd say that the only thing that's kind of getting me is about reliability, because this does not want to take the weird Russian tubes it was designed for. Now, this was swapped over to a 12AX7 build instead of the 6N2P build, which is what it would have originally come with. Those tubes are literally just 12AX7, but slightly different because they're from Russia. So swapping over to a 12AX7, you just need to rewire like 3 lugs on a socket, and it is fine. The issue is the power tubes, because these are supposed to be taking 6N3Cs, but every single pair I've put into here have been red plating, which makes me think that someone had adjusted the bias voltage at some point for 6L6s or 5881s. Yours should be running on the 6N3Cs, and if you need them, I have a whole pile of them, but I would honestly go with just putting the beefiest tubes you can in this thing. Go for 6L6s or 5881s or 6L6WGCs. But just make sure it can handle like 25 watts of dissipation per tube at least, which I think is what the 5881s are doing nowadays. Because it's rated for 120 watts. It wants to be pushing that. These things are closer to 23, so when it's overdriven it might be pushing 120. But in terms of RMS clean power, it's supposed to be producing 120. Which is what a 6L6GC would be. But that's me being nerdy for a little while. And in terms of reliability, if you put 6L6s in this, it'll take it like a champ. I just wanted to be a jerk and save money by selling the old tube set, but incredible amp. Freaking buy one. Better than a Thunder Verb. You have my word on it. Oh my goodness. Just get one. And I'll be posting a bass demo soon because it's also amazing for bass. Alright, see y'all.